Good evening. Today is January 23rd, 2024. The time is now 5:30 p.m. This meeting of Georgetown County Council is now being called to order. I see that we do have a quorum present for our meeting this evening, and you're all welcome to our monthly meeting. We'll begin the meeting with the invocation by Councilor Carolina, who's leading us also in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Almighty and eternal Father, we praise and thank you for calling us to serve your people. Continue to give us your anointing and help us to be that vessel of your grace to touch the lives of your people. Father, use us as a channel to your compassion. Help us to be worthy of your trust that we may be an instrument of peace and hope to all in Georgetown County. Give us courage and to be an agent of change to achieve your dream of transformation. Finally, we ask you to heal our land and restore faith and righteousness in our nation. This we ask in your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilor Carolina. You all have received the agenda for this evening. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as published?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Carolina. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll move down to our special reports and presentations. Tonight, we're going to have our nonprofit spotlight, the Imaginary Library, and the presentation is going to be made by Ms. Natasha Brockington. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, council members. My name is Natasha Brockington, and I am the Executive Director of Miss Ruby's Kids, an early literacy program serving children and families in Georgetown County. We are known throughout the community for our efforts to prepare children for school, engaging parents and empowering them to be their child's first and best teacher, and providing families with opportunities to create literacy-rich environments. Tonight, I'm here to speak with you about another initiative that focuses on young children and helping to create bright futures for them. In Georgetown County, our poverty rate is high and our literacy rate is low. In an effort to address this literacy issue, the Bunnell Foundation invited Dolly Parton's Imagination Library to Georgetown County in 2007. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library is the flagship program of the Dollywood Foundation. This book gifting program for children under the age of 5 was designed to inspire a love of reading in preschool-age children. Children from birth until age 5 can participate in this free program. Each month, Dolly Parton Imagination Library provides a hand-selected, age-appropriate, high-quality book in the mail. If signed up from birth, a child could receive 60 free books. There are no income guidelines for this program. All children in Georgetown County are able and encouraged to be signed up. The program has a massive global following. In 2023, the total books gifted since inception reached 200 million. Since its introduction in Georgetown County in 2007, 6,763 children have been signed up for the program, and 221,532 books have been mailed. Thanks to the Bunnell Foundation, Dolly Parton's Imagination Library has made a great impact in our community. As the local community champion of Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, I want to see all children ages 0 through 5 signed up for the program. My task for everyone in the room is to speak with anyone you know or see with preschool-age children and ask them if they know about Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. Encourage them to go to imaginationlibrary.com and sign up. Georgetown County is a literacy-friendly place. There are plenty of opportunities for children of all ages to access books. I couldn't stand here today without telling you about our library program. Currently, Miss Ruby's Kids operates 16 community libraries filled with age-appropriate, culturally relevant books for children to take and keep. With the support of local businesses, grants, and donations, we've been able to provide children in Georgetown County with over 20,000 books since starting our libraries in 2020. In closing, please remember the wise words of Dolly Parton: "You can never get enough books into the hands of children." Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Brockington. Any comments from council? Thank you for all you do for Georgetown County. We'll move on down to our Employee of the Quarter recognition. Mr. Ackerman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of council. We have 4 different awards that we'll be presenting tonight. So in the essence of time, what I would ask is that we'll present the awards one at a time. And then afterwards, if I can get your indulgence, Mr. Chairman, if you'll come down front so we can have the physical presentation of the award and get a photograph.
That's fine.
Thank you. First up, we have the Employee of the Quarter. This award goes to Mr. Joshua Drew of Midway Fire and Rescue. He's firefighter EMT Joshua Drew. The main reason he was nominated for the award and subsequently won, he was instrumental over the course of the last year in developing a uniform store for all the firefighters. Before implementing this procedure, it was a sort of haphazard when firefighters would order their stuff. It was a lot of 1s and 2s and this and that and the other. And he worked with the vendors, got reduced pricing because he could assure a certain quantity and volume of things. Now the firefighters can actually go, he has a pre-approved list of items that they can order when they need replacements. They go out, they order their own stuff, select their own sizes, whatever fits them best. So it's had a great impact on the department in that it not only satisfies the firefighters so they get what they're wanting and what they're needing, but it has also reduced the budget, and I think they were actually in the black on the uniform line item, which never happens in the fire department. In addition to his work with the uniform stuff, and there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, he actually approves each order, works with the command staff, deals with the budget. He was also one of the point persons in taking care of the family of firefighter Gak Coyne, who tragically passed away in October. He coordinated all the activities, helped coordinate the celebration of life service. It was a big undertaking, and he's been invaluable to that family and to the department in that fact. And he did all of these other things while he was undergoing our inaugural class to become an advanced EMT, which is between an EMT and a paramedic. So he's been quite busy, and for that, we want to recognize him as Employee of the Quarter. And if I could just get you to stand real quick, please. Thank you, sir. Big round of applause. Now, I think everybody's been here through a couple of cycles, but, you know, we do Employee of the Quarter once a quarter, but there's a couple of awards that we only do one time a year. This next award is our Manager of the Year award, and that award is going to Fire Marshal Michael Morris of Georgetown Fire and EMS. And Michael, if you will, please stand. I think pretty much everybody in the county probably knows Michael because he's that kind of person. He gets around, he never meets a stranger. Which is very helpful in what he does. Michael's primary role is to ensure the safety of the citizens in Georgetown County by making sure that they are aware of fire safety needs. He inspects buildings. He goes over plans and documents before buildings are built to ensure that they meet the fire code. He does inspections during the building of these facilities. You know, our building folks look at building codes, and he goes in and inspects for fire codes. He does a lot of outreach in the community, whether it be community meetings, fire, smoke alarm installation, blitzes, and they'll go out and put smoke alarms and stuff in folks' houses. But his role and his goal, and he does a very fantastic job at it, is to make sure that people are aware of the dangers of fire and how to prevent them before they happen. He plays a integral role in working with our volunteer staff as well, kind of heads up the charge on that. Michael just does an all-around fantastic job, and for that, we recognize him as Manager of the Year. Now, these next two awards are kind of similar, so there's some distinction, and I want to make sure everybody understands. This next award is our Employee Volunteer of the Year. So this award goes to an employee of Georgetown County who does volunteer work outside of his normal position. The following award is for a volunteer who volunteers for Georgetown County. So it's a little bit of a difference. So at the end of each year, we recognize our employee volunteer from various departments all over the county. This year's award goes to William Schultzberger, or Schultze as he is affectionately called. And if you want to stand, wave your little hat. There you go. Everybody sees him. So he served in a volunteer capacity over in Horry County Fire for the last 8 years. He works at Georgetown County Fire and EMS, but he volunteers up in Horry County. Through his progression in his volunteer service, he actually moved up to a lieutenant level at Horry County Fire as a volunteer. He started with us about 5 years ago and has progressed through our ranks up to a lieutenant now as well. So he's done a fantastic job through that. The experience that he gained up in Horry County, he's quite new with us, but he's very experienced in the fire service. So he's served very well as a mentor to a lot of the new fire recruits that we have. He's been teaching classes. He's just really transformed those folks into raw recruit firefighters and moving them up into productive firefighters in our service. So at this time, we want to recognize him as our Employee Volunteer of the Year. Thank you very much. Our next award is for our Volunteer of the Year. This is a person who volunteers to work at Georgetown County in some capacity. And I know seems like the voting's been rigged and all the awards are going to somebody with fire and EMS. That is not the case. The votes were counted correctly. Mr. Carlos Aulette, he is a volunteer with Georgetown County Fire and EMS. He came on not very long ago as a volunteer, but he has really shaken the world up over at Georgetown County. He's become an active and trusted member of the Georgetown County Fire and EMS team. Since joining the department, he's taken the time to strengthen the bond between full and part-time firefighters. There's always a little friction between the full-time and the part-time folks, the career folks, and part-time as we refer to them. He has a ton of experience in fire and EMS. He actually will come in the station, assist all the full-time folks, providing some specialty training that he's an expert in, and he assists with staffing needs. He'll try to help fill roles whenever possible. He regularly staffs fire apparatus as a driver and operator alongside anybody else who happens to be working. Sorry, I lost my place. This has, doing that filling in for folks when needed has allowed us to pull folks off shift and actually provide training that they otherwise would not have had time to do. So it has allowed a lot of our folks to progress more rapidly through their training progression and gain more skills so that they can better serve the community. He always takes time to provide information and guidance to those around him. He's become a force multiplier that can be counted on in difficult situations. We are so thankful to have him, and we want to recognize him tonight as our Volunteer of the Year. Sorry, I should have asked him to stand. At this time, if I can get all 4 recipients to come up front, and we will actually present your award and get a photograph. And I'd really like it if their respective chiefs and their director could be in that photograph with them.
Ain't none of them got no hair in fire EMS. They must be scared they're gonna burn it off. He's got more than all of them. He looks like a jarhead out of Parasite. Oh, this one's got hair. Must be just seeing that.
Okay. Congratulations again to all the recipients. We'll move on down to our presentation of our fiscal year 23, fiscal year June 30th, 2023 annual comprehensive financial report. And we'll have Alan Thompson from Price Scott Adams and Company, PA, doing the presentation.
Good evening.
Good evening.
You should have a copy of the presentation summary in front of you. If you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 1. The main thing you hire an independent audit firm to do is issue an opinion on the financial statements as a whole. We issued an unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote clean report. There were no findings in the report itself. On page 1, there are some things I need to walk through. In those 3 paragraphs, it discusses appropriate accounting policies, accounting estimates, and disclosures to the financial statements. We were fine with all of those. There were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit. And on page 2, there were no uncorrected misstatements. There were no disagreements with management. Management did provide us with a representation letter dated December 21st. One aware that management consulted the outside accountants, auditors, et cetera, and again, no other findings, issues, et cetera. On page 4, you'd be kind enough to flip over, page 4. I'm not trying to say these are all the key numbers in the audit report, but these are definitely some of the key numbers in the audit report. And the purpose of doing it in the presentation format is so that if you look at the first column here, we've got June 30, 2023, and then the 4 prior year audit reports beside it so that you get a context of what a number looks like and not just in space. So if general fund balance is $20,871,000, you can go back to 2019 and see that same number is $11,065,000, and you can see the trend upward during that time period. So the unavailable fund balance is $1,583,000. The committed and assigned is $242,000. Total general fund expenditures, which includes transfers out, is $34,107,000. And then fund balance available as a percentage of the general fund is 56.55%. If you go back to 2019, it's 30.64%. So a very nice trend upward. I'm going to try not to read every single number on this page, so I'm going to hit some of the highlights. You can see the revenues over and under expenses before transfers is $7.1 million in the general fund. You see the numbers underneath that. The total depreciation expense there in the environmental services is $1,505,000, and in the storm drainage is $667,000. You flip down, if you will, the cash in the general fund, you can see where it's $20,549,000. Again, if you go back to 2019, that same figure is $10,507,000. You see the cash by fund all the way underneath that. And then underneath that, you see the fund balance again, which starts with the general fund and then goes fund by fund there for each of those presented, and then has all 5 years shown. On page 5, you see the property tax rates, direct tax rates, and then the collection percentages. the total taxable assessed values, and then the total adjusted levy amount. Underneath that, you see total debt by governmental and then business type activities. Another positive trend here in your total governmental debt, you see it going from in 19, 75.3 million down to 55.7 million. And then business activity debt going from 3,986,000 to 2,454,000. So a very nice trend there as well. Then you see the breakdown of your general fund revenues, total being 35,057,000, and total breakdown of your general fund expenditures at 27,946,000. If you'd be kind enough to flip over to page 6, you can see the trend I talked about on the general fund in terms of total fund balance there in blue. And on the bottom of that same page, you can see the fund balance available as a percentage, which is a sign of the strength of the general fund, going from 30.64% up to 56.55%. On page 7, you see analysis of cash and fund balances there in a pie chart with on the top, and then the total underneath that, with total cash balances being 128 million and total fund balances being 126.6 million. On page 8, you see the collection percentage. We've talked about that some with staff. Hopefully, after a couple things are worked on, that'll get bumped back up in the next fiscal year. And then on the bottom, you see governmental versus business type debt, as we just talked about, the positive trend on both. And then on page 9, you see a pie chart with the percentage of revenue, with property taxes making up 57.19% of the total general fund revenue, and the general governmental making up most of the expenditures at 65.55%. Again, the positive thing to take away from this is there's no findings. The county did receive a unmodified report, which is a quote-unquote clean report. And the trends, especially in your cash in the general fund and the fund balance in the general fund, are both very positive. I'm happy to answer any questions you've got of me tonight, but I'm also happy to take a call from you anytime, from any of you. If I happen not to be in the office, tell them, give you my cell number. I'll get you an answer to whatever your question might be.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have a few. Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for the report. Very easy to read. I have a few questions for you. Starting at the back there on page 8, explain to us the difference in governmental debt and business type debt.
Your governmental debt has to do with the governmental funds, and I'm not trying to be repetitive there, but your business activity funds would be anything that you would traditionally run for a profit, i.e. water sewer funds, environmental services. That would be where your business type activities debt would come from. The balance, for the most part, is going to be your governmental funds debt.
Okay, thank you. On page 7, if you analysis of cash and fund balances.
Yes, sir.
And Madam Administrator or Ms. Langston might want to jump in here. Why is the stormwater drainage utility cash and fund balance so different there?
So different.
In the stormwater drainage fund, we had some grants in the stormwater fund and grants are reimbursable. So we experienced the expenditures that went along with it, but we hadn't received the revenues in time to be able to record them back. So that's why that's showing up the way it is. That'll clear itself out in next year when we get the revenue from those granting agencies.
Okay, and going over to the analysis on page 6, Mr. Thompson, the analysis of fund balance, all the way from 219 to 223. That's a pretty impressive chart. And I was sitting up here wondering, would you accredit that to these 7 up here making good decisions? Or would that be from the administrator and her staff just being on top of it? I put you on the spot, didn't I?
Yes, sir, you did. But what I would probably say is it's a collective effort between the board, management, and the department heads doing a good job. But it is an impressive chart, and it does speak to the financial health of the county as a whole.
Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I've got a question on page 4.
Yes, Councilman Anderson.
I'm looking there at the fund balance. In 2019, it was 30.64%, and in 2023, it's 56.55%. I mean, that's fantastic, but does that number really need to be that high to keep our risk to a presentable position? That's a big fund balance.
It's not an easy answer, so if I ramble, I apologize. The answer to that probably should be, if you looked out over the next period of time to determine what's on the horizon for the county as a whole, what the general fund may have to fund in terms of projects, other items that it may have, is this fund balance, it might not be enough, or it could be too much, but without looking and projecting out, it would be difficult to answer that. One thing that a lot of boards that I've seen work with, they set a policy that has a minimum percentage that they're willing to accept, and so they won't go below that. So that's a little bit of a vague answer, but without looking forward 3, 5 years, et cetera, it gets difficult to say it's good, it's bad, without knowing that future information.
Has any of your customers ever asked you to put something together that backs that up, you know, where you could take a look at? I know it's looking in a crystal ball, but is there a way? I know there's got to be a way that we could either what kind of a risk factor we'd put on that number.
What I could do is give you some of the policies, or give your staff some of the policies that we've seen in other counties, and even put staff in connection with some of the other counties that we deal with to give them a feel for, hey, how are they setting that policy so that it makes good sense, financial and physical sense for the county as a whole, and then they could bring that back to you as a board to determine what you think.
Madam Administrator, could you put together something for us that takes a look at the drivers of that risk, positive or negative? And I'd just be interested to seeing, you know, where we really stand with that. Is there a 50% risk in this? Is there a 90% risk in this number? You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir.
All right.
I guess this is kind of the segue.
I would appreciate that. Because I mean, this is fine, but that's a big management reserve. I wish I had that. Thank you.
Yes, in fact, we have been discussing among staff. We look forward to bringing you a recommendation and a revision of what our policy has been in the past. One of the things that I mentioned to you when I first got here is I thought what we had in reserves was too low. And it was too low because we're a coastal community. We are a hurricane away from a disaster. I'm very proud that it's gotten to this level, but we also anticipate, and some of the reasons that we had the fund balance where we had it is because of vacancies. We have really worked in the last few months to fill a lot of those vacancies. So we don't expect it to be quite this high at the end of 2024, but we're still very conservative in our projections. We watch our expenditures pretty close, but we look forward to bringing you a recommendation on what we believe the standards should be as we move forward for your consideration.
Well, I'm glad we're conservative, don't get me wrong, but I just, you know, I want us to be frugal, but, you know,
Right.
we're trying to run a county.
Yes, sir.
And that's not a criticism, you know what I'm talking
Yes, sir.
about. I just want to understand the number. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Newton.
Mr. Thompson, what, a follow-up on Mr. Anderson there. On the fund balance as a percentage of the general fund, and I know every county's different and the budgets are hugely different, but is there a rule of thumb that is a red line that that number, when it drops below that a certain percentage, you're in the danger zone, so to speak?
Oh, yeah, fire away.
Oh, sorry, Karis. I'd have
That's
called
all
on
right. I'll just help you out here. So we currently have a policy in place that says that the general fund balance can't go below $8 million or 35% of the budgeted expenses for that year. So right now, so we've kind of given it a 35% minimum
Minimum.
balance
Okay.
kind of thing.
That's-
But that's the policy that we're talking about working on and changing.
Okay,
In the near future, we're going to bring that to you.
thank you so much.
Yes, Councilor Tyler.
This probably maybe for Karis, or thank you for the audit. Could we include, along the lines of what Councilor Anderson was talking about, could we include some comparisons with counties of our size and also incorporate maybe 3-year projections based on expected revenues? And then also, where would the upcoming bond go for the jail?
Okay, so yes, we can work on 3-year projections out as to where we think fund balance is going to go from here. And the bond will be paid for through the debt service fund. So it's going to go into that section that is under,
Okay,
where was that?
I gotcha.
But it'll be paid
1.6.
through the debt service fund.
Okay.
Okay, Councilor Carolina.
This question could be to Karis or Mr. Thompson. Regarding the stormwater utility,
Yes, sir.
what do you anticipate the revenues to bring that cash balance up?
Well, we've already received the negative, the $483,000. Actually, we've received like $653,000 from that grant to offset that. So we'll be back up this year. It's just, it was a timing thing. We can't accrue things back after 60 days or, you know,
Okay,
so it was just a timing thing that happened this year.
all right, thank you.
Okay. Any additional questions from council?
Mr. Chairman, yeah,
Yes.
Mr. Thompson, I'd just like to commend you on putting this together and making something that's very complicated, very easy to understand. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir, you're certainly welcome.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you all. Thank you for presenting the report to council. And it's my understanding that the fund balance is there basically to make sure that we can have enough funding available to cover the unforeseeables throughout the years. That's the purpose of it. So, okay. Thank you. Let's move on down to public comments. A public comment period is included on each meeting agenda and shall be limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. No speaker may yield his/her allotted time to another speaker. Members of the public who wish to address council during the public input period should sign up with the clerk of council before the meeting is called to order. Please note the time clock on the screen, and please abide by it. We ask that you conclude your statements when the time has expired. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone sign up for public comments this evening?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have 2 speakers, and as you said, each will have 3 minutes. Then the first speaker is Guy.
Good evening. My name's Guy Franelik. I'm here to represent the Inlet Oaks Village community where I live. I'm here to try to petition the council. I didn't know where to come. I figured come here. to get more fire hydrants for our development. I furnished the map up there. Hopefully you all get to see it. We have 178 units in the place that's spread out real big, and we have 3 fire hydrants. We had a horrible fire back in August. The lady is still in the burn unit in Augusta because the time delay to stretch out hoses to this lady's house. The house is a total loss. We got the map of the community. If somebody in the rear of our park ever had a fire, they'd be done. I have a letter from the fire marshal, Tom Zimpelman from Merle's Inlet, supporting the need for them. He was nice enough to come to our community and do a whole community-wide fire alarm thing for all the residents that wanted to get checked. You know, we're elderly. I'm not really that elderly, but most of the people there are. So it's kind of imperative if we could have a few more fire hydrants in case of emergency. Most of the places in there, like mine, are old, and they will go up fast. So I got a petition from all the residents with over 100 signatures that we would like to have some more. Also, Tom Simpleman spoke up and said that there's a 6-inch main that's easily accessible in the whole main road, and installing fire hydrants would not be a big issue. And that's what I have to say. Any questions?
Thank you for your comments.
You're welcome.
Clarissa Tootin.
Good evening. I'm back again to speak on the issue involving commercial use of public boat landings. Ecotourism, whether it be in the form of chartering a fishing boat or attending a floating lecture, is one of the fastest growing industries in the country. As our global population increases, more homes are built and more beautiful landscapes are turned into concrete jungles with identical houses as far as the eye can see. Humans used to live with the land, not on it, which is why there is such an attraction to these untainted areas of nature. Our county has thankfully been one of the few counties to successfully preserve our coastlines and our wetland ecosystems. Unlike surrounding counties, we seem to be living with the environment as much as we possibly can. Homeowners from Horry and Charleston counties, as well as people all throughout the country, are now looking at our county because we can still provide the pristine environments that so many other counties have lost. It's no secret that the cost of living for residents of Georgetown County is increasing due to this interest, but by educating people from all over the world, we are able to bring in more money for these citizens and put more money in their pockets. We're also able to save the history and the environment and protect it, not only for their use, but ours. Like I said previously, we can't protect anything nobody knows about. As we experience newer residents and businesses, slips on Front Street, for example, will change hands and become more costly. There's no long-term security of those rentals, as we saw with the one specific tour boat. We don't want the influx of new residents to limit the services we are able to provide when this influx can boost our economy. They're not coming to see any one thing. They are coming to experience our county as a whole and the culture that we have within this county. If we can't protect these things, then they're lost. In closing, we would like to see the footage limits of six-pack boats become more inclusive, as we heard from a captain last week who was excluded by the current ordinance. We would also love to see Coast Guard certified tourism vessels be able to utilize Carroll Ashmore Campbell Marine Complex for only loading and unloading passengers. So, thank you very much.
And that's our final speaker.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We move on down to our consent agenda. Please note that 3 matters on the consent agenda were previously approved by virtue of the meeting agenda process. Procurement number 23-071, Allison Hanger Apron and Paxton Lane paving at Georgetown County Airport. Procurement number 24-004, service agreement for Life Pack and Lucas Medical Supplies for Midway Fire Rescue. And procurement number 24-006, carpet and flooring replacement at Georgetown Historic Courthouse. We move down to appointments to boards and commissions. We have an appointment to the Parks and Recreation Commission, Councilor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But before I make that nomination, I would like to acknowledge Mr. Billy White, who passed this summer. He had been involved with Parks and Recreation from his youthful days, and it didn't end there. He was also, as an adult, a volunteer, a coach, and he served in many other capacities in support of Parks and Recreation in Georgetown County. Having said that, I would like to nominate Ms. Jessie Mae Walker as the appointment for District 4 Parks and Recreation Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Johnson. Do we have a motion from Councilor Johnson for the nomination of Jesse M. Walker to fill a vacancy on the Parks and Recreation Commission? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mercado. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Congratulations to Ms. Walker. We move down to our resolution and proclamations. Resolution number 24-02, establishment of just compensation pertaining to property easements necessary for Lancashire Drainage Improvement Project. Madam Administrator.
Thank you. This particular resolution is, we have a federal grant. We're meeting the requirements of the grant to establish what the criteria for compensation for a temporary easement to do this drainage project. This is, we are meeting the requirement with your consideration for residences in that area for the Lincolnshire drainage project.
Thank you, Madam Administrator. Any questions for Madam Administrator?
Yes, yes. How many properties are we targeting to get this just
I think it's like a dozen.
a dozen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And the $10,000, that's the maximum amount in the offering to offer as compensation to the property owners?
Yes, I think the amount that the folks from CDBG who are, that are facilitating this grant, they have the recommended compensation rates based on the size of the temporary easement that's in the resolution.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I had a couple of questions.
Yes, Councilor Anderson.
Miss Angela,
Yes, sir.
is this, did you say this is a temporary easement?
That's what I understand, yes.
Okay, where is this property? I'm not even sure.
Lincolnshire,
I don't want to put you on the spot here. I just didn't know where it was myself.
It's a dividing line between our districts.
Lancashire,
Lincoln McDonald Road.
yeah, exactly. It goes down McDonald Road.
McDonald
Down
Road?
521.
Okay, I'm with you. I wasn't sure where it was. Thank you.
Sure. Any additional questions for Madam Administrator?
So this is the first point before would it be Walkmore Regional that's doing the paperwork to get the information out to the property owners?
as I understand it, yes, they are the facilitator for this portion of this grant project. This project is a CDB project. This has really been going on for 2 years. For us even to get to this point, it has been extremely lengthy for us to meet all the requirements.
So we need this before we even start
Yes, sir.
construction.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I got another question. Excuse me.
Councilor Anderson.
Is this private property?
Yes, sir.
what concerns me about this is I've had people call me all the time complaining that we used to be able to clean out their ditches. And when we decided that we wouldn't be cleaning out any more ditches of personal property, where is this going to take us? I hope we're not going to open up a gate with this.
No, this isn't just cleaning dishes. This is installing drainage in these particular areas. And we need to get in there and put the pipe in. We need some right of way to be able to do
Okay,
that.
but you understand what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional question from Madam Administrator?
Is this going to allow us to clean that pipe out once we install it? This easement?
I think so. I think we're adding pipe. I think that's part of what's been the issue in that area. There isn't pipe.
Okay, thank you.
May I add that, as we mentioned, this is just the first step to acquire an easement, then to start the construction to build drainage, thus improve the roadway outfalls and everything to take away the drainage issue in Greentown or Lincolnshire.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's not ditches right now. They have a serious drainage problem from day one. They don't even have ditches.
Okay, any additional questions for Madam Administrator? Comments? Okay. And these are the same area that the residents have been in front of council several times for drainage issues in their particular communities, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we're talking about easement just to allow the county to assist with those drainage projects. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, thank you. You've heard a presentation from Madam Administrator. Is there a motion for pertaining to resolution number 24-02?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the resolution for this amendment to move forward on the project.
We have a motion from Councilor Carolina for approval of resolution number 24-02 for the establishment of just compensation pertaining to property easements necessary for Lincolnshire Drainage Improvement Project. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on down to third reading of ordinances. We have a request from the applicant for deferral of third reading of ordinance number 23-45. Is there a motion to defer?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Carolina. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Ordinance number 23-45 is deferred. We move on down to second reading of ordinances. Ordinance number 24-01. Ms. Richardson.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll address items 10A and 10B together as they both deal with the same rezoning request. This request is from Mr. Billy Nichols. He's asking to rezone 3 parcels from R10 and General Commercial GC to Neighborhood Commercial NC. These properties are located at 13236 Ocean Highway and 46 Channel Bluff in the Pawleys Island area. The parcel that currently faces Channel Bluff is zoned R10 today. There is an existing dwelling on the property that's been used for storage. The 2 lots that front Ocean Highway are currently zoned GC, and they are the location of the Dunes Realty office. This applicant originally made a request to rezone just the Channel Bluff lot from R10 to General Commercial GC. After a good bit of feedback and specific concerns from the neighbors of the Channel Bluff area, the Planning Commission deferred action on that rezoning, and the applicant amended his request and came back and asked to rezone all 3 parcels, the parcel on Channel Bluff and the 2 on the front, to Neighborhood Commercial. The properties total 28,990 square feet. The surrounding zoning in the area is general commercial to the north, west, and south, and R10 zoning to the east. The current R10 zoning allows for single-family dwellings. It excludes mobile homes on 10,000 square foot lots. And the current general commercial zoning allows for, of course, a wide variety of commercial uses, which would include a gas station, a drive-through restaurant, retail, and some of those, as you can imagine, were the concerns of the neighbors. The proposed neighborhood commercial zoning allows for a more restrictive list of commercial uses, which include professional-type offices and business offices, and those would exclude the more intense uses such as a gas station or a drive-through restaurant. NC has a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet as well, and the parcel would still be required to comply with the 90-foot setback off Highway 17. As I said, there is an existing single-family home on the Channel Bluff lot that's being used for storage. The owner is planning to rezone the 3 parcels to combine the lots and expand his current operation into the additional parcel for additional office space and storage. If the NC zoning is approved, the plan is to demolish that existing single-family home. Staff is recommending that they then combine the 3 lots. Any new construction will have to comply with the overlay zone requirements and the 90-foot front yard setback. Future land use map designates this property as medium-density residential, so it does need to be amended if the rezoning request is approved. The applicant will also have to install a level 3 buffer against any single-family commercial property once they develop the lot. The closest neighborhood commercial zoning is about 440 feet to the northeast. The closest zoning designation of this same size, this is relatively small, a little over half an acre. We do have a zoning district of that size in the area. It's about 700 feet to the southeast. In summary, we do have commercial zoning adjacent to this parcel. We think the rezoning would bring the storage use, the non-conforming use into compliance, and the neighborhood commercial would provide with the more transitional zoning from the commercial of Highway 17 to the neighborhood of Channel Bluff. Again, we are recommending a change to the future land use map from medium density to transitional in order to support the request. The Planning Commission met, and at the second meeting with the neighborhood commercial request, there were no comments from the neighbors. The PC voted to recommend 5-0 for the rezoning. They also recommended 5-0 for the change to the future land use map. I'd be glad to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Any questions from council?
Mr. Chairman, I've got a request from Ms. Holly. Do you think with the GIS map being down, you could, in your details you give with this stuff that you send out to us, if you could give a little bit more exploded view so I'll have a better idea of exactly where these properties are. With the GIS map, I was able to, to figure out where things were. But I think the plat map that you showed in the package was just it zoomed in pretty close. And I didn't know, I still hadn't figured out where it is.
Yes, sir, a more zoomed out view.
If you could do that just across the board until Stephen gets us back online, I would appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Quick question. Can you remind me what, on the FLU, what transitional is? I should know that PDF by now, but I don't.
Transitional applies to the neighborhood commercial and office commercial zoning districts. We don't have a lot of office commercial, but it's basically anything you would want to situate near to residences, in theory, so that they could walk to them, beauty shops, offices, something that you wouldn't be objectionable to have close to a residence.
So once it's developed, we wouldn't have to update the FLU in a later date?
Right. We're proposing that we would amend that to transitional. We're probably going to have some conversations down the road because the designations that are going to be proposed, I think, in the new land use map are a little bit different. So we'll need to have some discussions about how these things will line up with the new designations.
And I'm going to jump on Bob's question. Do we know when the GIS maps will be back up?
We're working on it.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall, if this property were to be sold, once the rezoning through neighborhood commercial is done, that property could not be developed for like a gas station, could it?
Correct. So they would be restricted to the list of uses in the neighborhood commercial district.
And that satisfied the neighboring communities. That was one of their big concerns.
As far as I know, yes, sir. They did not register any concerns at the public hearing.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay. You've heard the presentation from our planning director, Ms. Richardson. Is there a motion pertaining to ordinance number 24-01?
So moved.
It's moved for approval of ordinance number 24-01 by Councilor Mikado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We'll go on down to ordinance number 24-02. Is there a motion pertaining to it?
So moved.
It's moved for approval of ordinance number 24-02 by Councilor Mikado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We move down to the approval of minutes from our regular council meeting on January 11th, 2024. Is there a motion for adoption of those minutes? Moved by Councilor Johnson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mikado. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Minutes are adopted. We'll now move down to our legal briefing. We're moving to executive session for legal briefing, I should say. And it's to receive legal counsel, discuss legal matters and negotiations pursuant to SC Code annotated section 30-4-78-2. Is there a motion to move into executive session to discuss legal matters?
So moved.
It's moved by Councilor Elliott. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Mikado. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Motion carries. We now enter into executive session to discuss legal matters. Okay, we have returned from executive session. Is there a motion to return to open session?
So moved.
The move by Councilor Mercado. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Elliott. Any discussion? All in favor to return back to open session, please raise your hand. Opposed? Okay, we are now back in open session. Please let the record reflect that we have returned from executive session to discuss, to receive legal counsel and discuss legal matters and negotiation pursuant to SC Code annotated section 30-4-78-2. Please note that no votes were taken while we were in executive session. Any further business to come before council? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Elliott, there's a second.
Second.
Second by Councilor Carolina. Any discussion? All in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? We stand adjourned.